Hey fam, it's Mari, the travel guy. Thank you for finding my channel. Please hit the like and subscribe. This channel is going to be awesome. What I have planned for this channel is I'm going to inform you with all the travel tips, content, news, especially the news are ever changing in regards to travel in this crazy world that we live in. So you definitely want to be able to hear the news that I have for you in regards to safety and just enjoyment of how to be able to prepare and enjoy whatever destination that lies ahead for you. Of course, my travel content, I'm going to have you engage in my adventures. It's going to be very diverse. What probably will set me apart from some of the other channels, I will show you content on my excursions. It could be anything from zip lining, or it could be, you know, a tour guide showing us Machu Picchu and informing me and you as my guests and my viewers of the history of Peru. It could be me being in Argentina at the Boca Juniors game and experiencing that. So really excited about this channel. This channel wants to hit it from all angles in regards to travel. Right now, I'm in Latin America in the beautiful Costa Rica and San Jose, living that pure vida life. And right now, that's my focus right now in Latin America. I've been to Europe plenty of times before and will return back. So I will take you on that adventure. I'm looking to hit Asia the first time, and so I would love for you to come with me to Asia, Australia, Africa, and really, really excited about it. So please hit the like and subscribe and notifications so you know when my recorded shows or content, video content comes up, but also some live shows. I'm looking to have people live from whatever city or country destination, and it could be various topics from, you know, the culture of that particular place, how's their healthcare, how's their security or safety, ranging from all type of topics. So really excited about that. So it's still early in the year, and there are those who throughout the world love to travel to South America and Central America, which is all Latin America. And there's a lot of great spots to travel to. In regards to cheap and affordability, all comes in with timing. There are some countries that are a bit more expensive um, in comparison, like Argentina, Brazil, a bit more expensive to travel to than in comparison to Peru or Colombia or Honduras. So, want to hit with the first point, and I have 10 points, is choose a budget friendly country or cities to visit. Like I said, um, there are some countries that are a bit more expensive, like Brazil, Rio or Sao Paulo, great place to travel. So there's a bit more preparation, a bit more money that you're going to spend. Um, but there are some countries that are cheaper. Um, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Peru, um, Bolivia, Colombia, and there are cities that you want to travel to that are definitely cheaper. Lima, Peru. I just spent some time in Lima, Peru, and I'm gonna show you some content that I had in Lima, Peru. If you're going with U.S. dollars, USD, man, you can live like a king in Peru. But it's a bit different. Say here in Costa Rica. Costa Rica, I would say it's more measurable in regards. Costa Rica could be really, really expensive. If you or not wise, or you don't look at certain tips on how to have a budget friendly experience here in Costa Rica. Same with Mexico. Um, Cancun is more expensive than, say, Merida or Mexico City or San Miguel de Allende. I'm naming places that I've been to. You may want, if you want to enjoy the beach so much, you may want to go to Guatemala. Guatemala, Honduras have some awesome beaches that are not like well known, but it's definitely cheaper, you know, a cheaper destination. So there's a lot of amazing countries in Latin America that you could travel to. All depends on your budget, right? When it comes down to it, it comes to your budget and what you want to spend. You want to have the best bang for your buck. So, um, so yeah, so I'm going to be able to give you those tips. So, the tip number one, you know, like I said, it's it's almost subjective in regards because, like I said, though I say Argentina is expensive, but I want to go to Argentina. I want to eat the parillas that they have, the barbecue, Argentine barbecue. I want to see my Boca Juniors, and I want to taste wine, which I got to do in Mendoza. But there are tips, and I use this as an example. Point number two: find cheap flights. Use flight search tools. There are plenty out there. There's Skyscanner. There's Google, um, Google Trips. Do the search. Their search engine to find some cheap flights. There are plenty of others. So use them to be able to find cheap flights. Use those search tools. Um, like I said, the the earlier you plan a trip, like say it's March right now, and you plan a trip, say in August, you'll find some better deals. Now, if it's March and you're booking a trip in April, yeah, you're going to pay more than than the average. And also look at the seasons. I'm going to get to that. You know, flying to Latin America at their winter time is definitely cheaper. Their excursions may be cheaper. So I'm going to hit those points. Point number three: use budget airlines inside and outside Latin America. Folks, fam, I am not a rich man, but I'm a wise man. And so some of these countries, right, say Mexico, for example, right? Aero Mexico is the major airline for Mexico. It could be pricey flying there. So don't leave out the lower budget airlines like Volaris. Volaris is cool. It's okay, right? It's equivalent to Spirit or Frontier here in America. You know, you get to your destination on an affordable price. Viva Aerobus is another one that flies to Mexico, right? So you could do that. What's the one for Peru? Well, that's within. I'll get to that. But there are some countries, their lower budget airlines fly directly from the United States and some other countries. Um, I know there's a new one that just came from Argentina that you can fly. I can name you a couple here uh, that do fly, but you also have to find out what hub. My home is Orlando, and I'm close to Miami. So Miami and Orlando has a lot of hubs for the second tier kind of airline flights that I'm talking about. Um, Let me name a couple. Sky Airline, you want to use when you're in Peru, right? You may use Copa or Air Avianca to fly to Lima, but when you get to Lima, you want to go to Cusco, right? You want to go to Arequipa, right? Use Sky or JetSmart, right? JetSmart is what I use to go to Cusco. Um, Let me name some other ones that I've used in the past. Yeah, when I was in um, Argentina, I used JetSmart. Um, Another one, Brazil is gold and azul. In Colombia, there's Wingo. So yeah, you could use these second tier, budget airlines inside the country when you get there, and outside of Latin America. Now, the only thing I will say, right, with these second tier budget airlines, right, they will charge you for your carry on if you have a carry on, or um, if you are checking in your bag, it does get pricey. Um, Next tip is book at the right time. Uh, I mentioned this earlier. If you know your destination that you want to go to, if you've planned it, just book it early. It will be much cheaper. There are so many ways that you can book it early. I'm going to do one episode um, on this. I can't speak for outside of the United States. Maybe England and Australia. Yeah, definitely England and Australia. But in the United States, there is, if affordability is key for you, travel now, pay later, or pay for your trip almost like a layaway. There is a lot of pay here, travel now companies, or travel now, pay later. The titles go forward or backwards. It doesn't matter. There's companies like that are out there that help people to want to travel. There's also companies like Zip, which is really huge. Sezzle, there's Klarna. You can use those to pay for your trips. A lot of the apps like Expedia and some of the airlines, they allow you, like Frontier, they allow you to pay an option, the full amount, or do a partial payment through these companies. Now, the only thing is, this episode I'm going to have later on is that you have to have the responsibility to pay these installments of payments, but you can use those to pay for your airline and pay for your excursions, especially Zip. Like Zip, you could use that internationally, right? You can use to pay for excursions through Viator. So it all takes a lot of research and being able to plan a perfect trip that's cost efficient. Airbnb, you could use those same things, right? I just thought about it. You could use those companies like Klarna, Zip, Sezzle, to pay for those trips, and um, so that helps out in booking at the right time if you don't want to pay all at one cost. Definitely know the seasons, right? When I went to Peru, I went in June, which is like the fall winter time of Peru. So it would be cheaper in regards to flights, excursions, Airbnbs, right? So same with Argentina, right? I went when their summer was close to ending, right? In March, I think it's their fall, right? So if I went there in November, December, January, like that's their summertime, obviously it's going to be expensive. It's the same thing when people come to Orlando, right? To go to Disney World or visit all Universal Studios, right? There are dead periods, right? January, which is winter time, winter in Florida. Um, February, right? Those are the times where it's best to travel to Orlando. Um, Say October. There's certain times, right? I have friends that work in the hospitality um, industry, and it'll tell you that those are the periods where globally you will find some discounts in regards to hotels, Airbnbs, flights. So you definitely want to book at the right time, um, whatever the destination that you're going to. Tip number 5: use the two-ticket trick. Um, I know there are those who are very strict about their travel. They want round trip direct flights. I have no problem with that. When I fly home from Costa Rica, which is usually on a Sunday or a Monday, right? Because sometimes when you have these two ticket, multiple stop trips, something goes happen, and so you don't wanna you don't want to take that risk of something happening. You want that direct flight home. So when I'm leaving Costa Rica, I usually get a direct flight home. Multiple stops will get you a cheaper ticket. Most of the time, it will get you a cheaper ticket. Um, Multiple stops, you could guarantee will happen when it will happen when you're going to Argentina and you'll fly into the major hubs, which is Bogota, Lima, because Lima just now have a new international airport that just opened. Um, I want to say last year in the summer. So they're a major hub. Panama City is another major hub. Sao Paulo. So you will have multiple stops depending if you're going further south in Latin America. Um, but even then, um, even within the country, the two ticket trick works pretty well. Um, there have been changes. There used to be a time where I would buy a one-way ticket to say Costa Rica and not buy my ticket back. Um, and sometimes it would come out cheaper. But now countries, right, the regulation, airline regulations and all the airline companies now require you have to have a return trip back home. So and it doesn't matter if you have multiple stops. So just for some news, because there are people who still think out there that okay, I'm gonna buy a ticket, say to Bogota, right? And when I get there, I'll buy my return trip back to say Orlando, Florida. First of all, Air Bianca will not allow you on the plane. You have to show proof that you have a return back home. Same with Spirit, Valeris, Aeromexico. Doesn't matter. You have to have proof um, that you're coming back. You can still use the two ticket trick, but in regards to uh, having multiple stops, and you could buy a couple one-way tickets, but eventually your last ticket has to show you coming back to your home country of where you're from. Next tip is when you're in the country that you travel to or the city, use buses or boats instead of flights. It's definitely cheaper. In Peru, I took a flight to Cusco, um, and then from Cusco, I took the train. Train was expensive going to see the town. Just came out of my head. In regards to the town where Machu Picchu is, but I could have took a bus from Lima to Cusco. Yes, it's longer, but it's definitely cheap. It's same thing taking a bus to um, Buenos Aires to other cities in Argentina. Yes, the budget flight was cheap, flying from Buenos Aires to Mendoza, and that bus trip would have been really long, but it would have been affordable. It's actually same price as the flight. But if you're going to Cordova, the other cities, you could take a bus. The same thing with Mexico, um, taking a bus to from Mexico City to San Miguel de Allende is definitely cheap, cheaper than taking a flight from Mexico City to the nearest city to San Miguel de Allende, which I'm trying to remember. It's not Guadalajara. It's gosh, but you guys get the point. So So sometimes it is easier to take a bus, or sometimes to even take a boat. For example, what I'm learning is, because I do want to return back to Argentina, but I want to go to Uruguay. Um, Taking a boat from Buenos Aires to Montevideo would be cheaper than taking a flight to Buenos Aires to Montevideo. For example, another one I did not know. You can actually take a bus from San Jose, Costa Rica, all the way to Puerto Viejo, um, on the Limon side of Costa Rica. You could take a bus and then uh, be able to take a boat, right, to Panama. And I'm like, oh wow, I did not know that. Of course, you have to have your passport whatsoever. And sometimes there are people who backpack from Mexico all the way down through, Belize, through Guatemala, um, Nicaragua, all the way down to Panama, and and it's affordable. So you definitely want to use those as alternatives. Four more to go. Stay in cheap accommodation. Um, I've had friends that have worked in the hotel industry, um, and they've told me that within the last 10 years, Airbnb has really taken a hit in the hotel industry. Some people say it's making a comeback, but very few people have told me that. It's more of Airbnb, depending which country you go to, um, has really made a dent in regards to hotel stays. People can still go into hotels. They want the 5-star treatment whatsoever. It's still going to be there. But the Airbnb is where you could get some really, really good deals. Um, and also gives you the flexibility. If you want to stay in a room, you don't rent a whole, you know, a whole like apartment or condo or hotel room, you can. And so renting a room would be cheap, dirt cheap, So you want to take that option. There's those hostels that you might want to stay at. For me, not a big fan of staying at a hostel. My last place I stayed at a hostel was in Italy, but it was cheap. It was cheap. Um, but definitely Airbnb is the way to go in most Latin American countries. You get really, really good deal. You stay in some of the best neighborhoods in that city. Um, you know, if I'm in Lima, I'm staying, Miraflores, Barranco. Uh, if I'm here in Costa Rica, where I'm at, Romo Sur, Escazú, Santa Ana, Heredia. Um, yeah, so really depends. It really takes you just doing research, your research in regards to affordability of where you want to stay. Compare the hotel to Airbnb in that area, and also compare that with a hostel. Um, so you definitely want to uh, uh, research that and plan that out early. Another tip: eat like a local. Right? I've done enough travel to tell you that you save a lot of money when you eat like a local. Now, it's very tricky, and this is where you have to do your research, right? A lot of places where you get a good bang for your buck, like a good meal for a good price, sometimes it may require you to maybe sometimes leave that elite or that super uber safe neighborhood, um, and may require you to go to a middle class, you know, right? I'm not telling you to go to the hood, comfortability, but the middle class, like neighborhood, you go there to be able to find uh, great meals, just as great as, you know, the 5-star restaurants or the restaurants that are in those neighborhoods, right? And they may overprice you a bit. Um, you could have that in those, you know, middle class neighborhoods in Mexico City, in Lima, in Buenos Aires. Just got to be smart about it, right? You're not going to go all flashy, you know, um, and show your chain, your watch, gold watch, whatsoever. Then you put a target on yourself, you know. That's why I termed it eat like a local, right? Research that, talk to the people when you land and stuff like that, where you get food there, learn. Like it's no different in any country, right? If you show the flash and dash in New York City, right, you're gonna be a target. I think in Colombia they have a saying, um, no papaya, right? Right, like meaning that don't be glossy, don't be bling bling, whatever, because you put target on yourself, So so to eat like a local, you definitely want to present yourself as a local to be able to go to these local restaurants and really, really eat some good food. Lima, I love going to the local neighborhoods. I mean, all the neighborhoods have quality food, but and it's cheap actually everywhere. But you know, um, when you go into you know some of these middle class neighborhoods, it's even cheaper. Panama is the same way. Costa Rica, same way, right? It's really, really expensive in Guanacaste. It's really expensive in Escazú, most of these neighborhoods. But then if you go to, you know, further away from where the tourists will definitely hang out, you go where the locals are, like say Cartago, that same meal that costs like $5, $6, you get rice, chicken, plantains, whatsoever. Right? It's much cheaper than trying to get that in Romoser. So yeah, eat like a local. All right, two more to go. Uh, use travel tours and activity sites. I say this because, um, for example, I'm in Costa Rica. I found it cheaper to use companies like Viator, pre-advance, right? If you know that you're going somewhere, right, it's much cheaper rather than spontaneous. Sometimes you could get a deal, right? You go to Guanacaste, Limon, Jaco, wherever, and you get a good deal. Someone's hustling, say, hey, you get zip lining, horseback riding, and ATV riding all for this package. And you sometimes get a deal, but a lot of times, you know, you're there, you're at their mercy, and they can hose you, hose mean like they can hustle you into paying more or expensive price. So definitely for me, like companies like Viator, and I've used them, and some other companies. They've always been fair in regards to the excursions and travel tours, and that these tours are highly rated, so they're good, because they put their name on their line by putting it out there, rather than have a tour uh, that you say, hey, we do this, we do this. They overcharge you a bit, and then you go through that experience, and you're disappointed, right? At least with like these sites that has the excursions um, pre-packaged, fair price, you can also read the comments, right? Pro or negative, right? And you can use the discernment. Same thing like Airbnb, you could use the discernment. All right, do I want to book that excursion? Do I want to book that adventure or that tour? So definitely use travel tours and activity sites. Um, talk a lot here. And then the last tip is just ask the locals. Um, I would say, I'm only talking from my experience, 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10, the locals will give you good tips in regards to that city, in regards to that country. Um, Maybe where to eat, where can you find some affordable pricing and eating. Uh, I did that in Buenos Aires because I was staying in Palmero. Great restaurants, but man, you're spending a lot of bread. You're spending a lot of money. So then I spoke to people and say, hey, you need to go to some of these other areas of Buenos Aires to be able to get good bang in your buck in regards to food, regards to travel. Um, you know, ask the locals. Hey, take this metro from this spot to this spot rather than paying a taxi or an Airbnb. Um, just ask a local. Locals will also tell you about things, some events. Hey, we have I don't know, a music festival or this festival going. You can research it online, but sometimes when you arrive to the country, and you speak to people, right, who may, of course, you have to find someone that knows English whatsoever. But even then, even this translator on your phone, amazing translation apps, and you could just talk to the person and they could direct you to um, to a destination or to excursion or to a restaurant. Well, they'll lead you to something that you'll be very happy about. Very rarely, like I said, for me, that I've asked a local and it wasn't sound advice on things, and maybe it might be a person that has some malintent, but for the most part, when you're asking a local, they will help you. And here in Costa Rica, man, these people heart of gold. The Ticos, they will guide you wherever you need to go, help you in any way, shape, or form. Same with Peruvians, they will help you any way, shape, or form. Argentinians, they will help you. If you come with that, that energy, that aura of just, hey, I love your country, I'm new here, help me, right? Most people are willing to to help. And so, yeah, so those are my 10 tips for cheaper uh, experience in Latin America, maybe Central America and South America. I talked about when um, to book flights this season. Um, Actually, I did forget the days. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday are the days to book uh, cheap flights in Latin America. Uh, so you definitely want to take that advantage along with seasons. Uh, and also talked about accommodations. Do your research in regards to cheap accommodations, hostels, Airbnbs, and even some hotels, um, depending on when and what season. Eat like a local. You'll always spend less eating like a local. You'll get the same quality of food. Guarantee you'll get the same quality. Maybe there's exception, like Lima, Peru, that has a lot of 5-star world-renowned restaurants where they take it at extra level. But most places, um, you get good quality of food. Um, Excursions, experiences. Definitely use the travel sites. Mostly, I'll leave you with this: always plan ahead and do your research. Right? Do your research. You will always find some cheaper options, um, even if it's too expensive options, right? But you wanted to go with the cheaper expensive option than the expensive option. So thank you for watching my first ever episode. Um, and please hit the like and subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you know whenever I do a live stream, and you'll be able to see new content and new recorded videos that I upload on the channel. Since I'm in Costa Rica, I'm gonna say Pura Vida and ciao.